The following is a brief sample of the 30-minute weekly syndicated television show, Football Forecast Weekly, which is being presented to you for possible sponsorship. It's America's #1 football show of its type, with 5 years of national syndication tradition and a history of winning. It has excellent low-cost television exposure nationally, with a strong regional television emphasis to reach the male football fan in America. Now, your commercials will air weekly to Channel America, 23 million television households to rural America in 96 markets weekly. The Los Angeles television market, 1.6 million television households weekly on KDOC TV, covering all the LA marketplace, plus 50,000 TV households in Marin County, California. The Phoenix television market, 100,000 TV households weekly on Arizona Sports Program Network, known as ASPN. The Las Vegas TV market, 180,000 television households, plus Reno on Nevada's #1 cable network, Channel 33. And the Midwest television market, 1 million TV households weekly on Midwest Sports Channel in Minneapolis-St. Paul Marketplace, plus KOTA TV covering South Dakota with 100,000 television households. Now, weekly television household impressions for your commercials are 29 million. Times 4 weeks equals 116 million homes. 15 weeks of Football Forecast Weekly delivers 435 million total television households.
From Las Vegas, it's Football Forecast Weekly. Starring Dennis Tobler. With the Professor Gordon Jones. And special reports with Dave Hammer. And now, the host of Football Forecast Weekly, Bob Elder.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Football Forecast Weekly, the program that each week right here gives you the insights and the information that you need to help better handicap and analyze college and professional games. Hi, I'm your host, Bob Elder. Well, week number 2 of the 1992 season is over, and there's been plenty of upsets and surprises in both the college and the professional ranks. If you look at the pros, who would have thought that Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, and Pittsburgh would be 2-0 after just 2 weeks, and then on the other side of the coin, the Raiders, Jets, and Giants are all 0-2, still looking for a victory. And of course, in college, there's that ongoing controversy, I think, that'll linger all year long, and that, of course, is Notre Dame's Lou Holtz choosing to go for a tie at home. And joining me right now is a man whose home is Las Vegas, and he never goes for a tie, only wins, and I gotta say, lots of them, and that, of course, is Dennis Tobler. And Dennis, what surprised you so far these first 2 weeks?
Well, one thing surprised me was Lou Holtz's coaching job. That's for sure. He blew several opportunities before half and at the end of the game to win that ball game. It's going to hurt him when they reach for the #1 spot later in the year. Also, what didn't surprise me this week was Buffalo upsetting San Francisco, as I told you on last week's show.
You were right here, and you said that. And also, don't forget, just in a few minutes, we're going to have Dennis's first big game. But let me remind you, coming up will be Dave Hammer. He'll be here with the latest line movements right from Las Vegas. You won't want to miss that. And, of course, a little later on, he'll be on with his over and under selections. And he is 6-0 with his top selections. You're not going to want to miss that. And, of course, later on, the professor himself, Gordon Jones, will be here with his premier selections. And, of course, that top television game or two that he has at the end of this show. But right now, Dennis, let's start off the way you do each week, and that is with the top college game. People don't have to call anywhere. They can get it right here. And that, of course, this week is Nebraska going to Washington, and the Huskies, the #2 team in the nation, are an 8-point pick. How do you see this one?
Well, Bob, I kind of like Nebraska in this matchup. I think the real key to the matchup is the fact that the Washington Huskies graduated a lot of defensive talent, including Steve Emtman, out of the front 7, and that will be the key to this matchup. Last year, Washington dominated Nebraska at the end of the game at Nebraska. Everyone knows this, hence the line being set at 8 on Washington this year. Well, a real key factor last year was Emtman in the middle of the line, shutting off that Nebraska rushing game. He shut it off completely, and he's just an awesome talent that will go on to be Pro Bowl in the NFL this year, so Washington's going to miss them. I think Nebraska's rushing game will work. I think Tom Osborne, even though he is a lousy coach, will be able to stay within the 8 points here. I'm taking the Cornhuskers. I think the line should have been 3.
All righty, and that's at home, so Washington, no big advantage.
Well, not per se in this one. There's too many points to cover. They do have a 3-point home advantage here, however.
All right, lots of line movements to talk about, and each week we go right out to Dave Hammer. Let's do that right now.
Thank you, Bob. I think the big news out here on the strip this week on the line movements is you've got some favorites that go to underdogs in the college. I'll get to those in a minute. But first, the numbers still on the strip here are very, very tight. The bettors are still cautious. They've got a little past performance to go by, but all in all, the numbers have remained very tight. Now, here's a look at this week's significant line movements. In the first matchup, you've got Illinois versus Houston, and this is one of those where the favorite goes to the dog. Illinois goes from -1 all the way to being the dog at +2.5. I think the bettors are wrong on this one. I think Illinois' passing attack will score a lot on a weak Southwest Conference team in Houston.
Well, welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly, everyone. It's a pleasure now once again to introduce a man who's with us every week this year on Football Forecast Weekly. For 5 years, he was the top handicapper with the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, and this year you can only catch him right here, and that is the Professor Gordon Jones. Nice to have you back.
Bob, nice to be back. And of course, in those 5 years of the Herald, we were beating the spread in public print every single year on the pros. Now it's so great to get into the colleges.
Well, let's test the colleges right now, because we've got a good game coming up first. We've got Virginia, a 5.5-point pick, going down to play the Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech. How do you see this one?
Well, Bob, I think wreck is the operative word here, and Georgia Tech, just not the team they used to be. If you follow them down the stretch last year, they dropped off about 10 points. And meantime, Virginia, you couldn't even beat them the last 8 games. They had 7 wins and a tie, and the good news, their whole team is practically back, about 16 starters. And what happened? More than half the guys at Georgia Tech, they got those diplomas and went off. So what does that mean this season? Well, you've got a Virginia team that is out there tripling the opposition on the ground, really controlling everything. And you've got another team at Georgia Tech. Hey, they played Western Carolina, one of the great powers in college football. They couldn't out first down them. They couldn't even hold the ball half the time. You put that together out there, 5.5 points. That's just home field advantage. I ran my Professor's proven profit plays and my power projections. That's a lot of P's, but it came out 17 points over the spread, Georgia Tech.
Thanks, Gordon. We will talk to you again next week. And we hope to see you here again next week on Football Forecast Weekly. Don't forget, each week we'll have all the top selections from Dennis Tobler, Dave Hammer, and the Professor. I'm Bob Elder. We'll see you next week.